Hey everyone, Miss GoElectric here. Today I'm at the M1 Concourse in Pontiac, Michigan because Mullen is doing a test drive tour and I wanted to go in and check out what they have to offer and get behind the wheel of a couple of their vehicles. So let's head inside.
During the fall of 2023, Mullen toured to 12 different cities across the U.S. in order to give prospective buyers a chance to see what they had in development. I signed up online for all the available experiences, including driving 2 of their commercial vehicles, the Mullen 1 and 3, as well as a pro driver ride-along in 2 of their consumer pre-production models, the Mullen 5 and GT. When I arrived at the M1 Concourse in Pontiac, Michigan, I started off by getting a lay of the land. There was an air-conditioned lounge trailer which offered merchandise to purchase as well as complimentary drinks and snacks for those waiting for their appointments. They also had a couple of container stages with vehicles on display, including the Bollinger B2 pickup truck. Mullen acquired a controlling stake of Bollinger back in September of 2022, so they could produce commercial trucks in classes 3 through 6, along with the B1 and B2 sport utility trucks.
Now I've already had the opportunity to get in and out of the B2 a couple of years ago at a Cars and Coffee that Bollinger hosted, so I've spent some time with that. I haven't driven yet. It would be nice if they could allow test drives for that, but unfortunately that's not going to happen today.
We just so happened to see Robert Bollinger, the CEO and founder of Bollinger, while we were waiting. One of the first Miss GoElectric videos ever was an interview with Robert and a tour of their headquarters in Oak Park, Michigan. I'll link that in the description. A lot has changed since we filmed that, and Robert invited us back to film an update. Be sure you subscribe to the Miss GoElectric Industry YouTube channel to be notified when we upload that one. Next, Mullen had their commercial Class 1 electric van on display in the courtyard right in front of their propane-powered DC fast charging and level 2 charging truck they use to keep the fleet topped up at all of their events like this.
This van actually I have driven before, which is really strange, but essentially what happened is there was a company called Electric Last Mile Solutions, and they were producing these small fleet vans as well as commercial 3 trucks. And I had an opportunity to drive that a couple years ago when they were still Elms before Mullen acquired them.
Finally, they had an area with 2 Mullen 5 prototypes on display with a product specialist near to answer any questions about the vehicles. We didn't have to wait long until it was our turn to get into the vehicles and start our ride. First up was the Mullen 5 ride-along. When the Mullen 5 goes into production, it is expected to have a starting price of $55,000. They plan to have a 95 kilowatt-hour battery pack with up to 325 miles of range and the ability to charge from 0 to 80% in 21 minutes. They've claimed the Mullen 5 will achieve 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.2 seconds and hit a top speed of 155 miles per hour. The compact SUV will have up to 71 cubic feet of cargo space, according to Mullen.
So we're going to showcase some of the performance features of the car. We have about 400 horsepower, 385 horsepower, 0 to 60 in just over 3 seconds. Nice Brembo brakes on this vehicle.
We took the 5 off track along a coned course for slow speed maneuvers. Body roll was minimal when cornering, and I didn't notice much brake dive either. How many tires have you gone through in this?
This is still our first set of tires for the tour.
Oh, that's amazing. The acceleration felt slower than a 3.2 second 0 to 60 mile per hour.
So as you can see, this car stays really well composed. We're not getting, all that dramatic tire screeching. The feedback that we're looking for is here. The inputs are exactly what we command of the car. You go from mild to wild pretty instantly and effortlessly. But yeah, that surface out there is a little dusty, a little low traction. So yeah. Luckily we have good low CG on this, good suspension. So we're not getting that understeer that we would typically expect on a low traction surface like that.
And it is very quiet.
It is very quiet.
The vehicle kept well composed considering its development stage. As a prototype, there are still some adjustments they'll make, including improvements to the fit and finish. It did not feel as performant as a Tesla Model Y long range, but it was at least as quiet as its Tesla competitor. Next up, I was able to drive the Mullen 1 Urban Delivery Cargo Van. This is expected to have a 42 kilowatt-hour battery for an estimated range of 110 miles. The cargo volume is 157 cubic feet, and it can support a payload of 1,683 pounds. The MSRP will start at $34,500. Since the last time I drove this vehicle in 2021, I noticed they've added a backup camera and parking sensors.
So there's no park pull in the transmission, so the TFT screen in the center displays that we're ready, and also just below it, it shows what gear we're in. So when you're ready, select drive or economy and release the park brake. And we're going to make our way onto the course. Looks like we're clear just after the cone. Make a left.
During this drive, I noticed some motor cogging at slower speeds, which I had not noticed previously. This is still a prototype, and perhaps the powertrain components have changed.
Go ahead and give it some gusto. Really peppy for such a small vehicle. The power to weight ratio is quite impressive. And then we've designed this course specifically for this vehicle, thinking about the end user. We're going to go straight over these speed bumps. Parallel parking box.
Okay. I like that they added the camera there, that's nice. Since the last time I was in this.
Oh, okay. And then we've got the park distance sensors in the rear bumper as well, so we may hear them depending on how close we get to the cones. That's why the heat is on. Nice. And then our center point is going to be that grouping of cones just to the left of that entry gate. And we'll do 1.5 times around. And we'll make our way out here. Anytime you're ready. Yep, that's all right.
From the van, I got behind the wheel of the MULN 3. This was the only production vehicle at the event, and it certainly felt complete. The MULN 3 starts at $68,500. It has an 89 kilowatt-hour battery pack with an estimated range of 130 miles. The truck has both level 2 and DC fast charging capabilities up to 68 kilowatts. The rear-mounted motor outputs 120 kilowatts, or about 160 horsepower. It can support a maximum box length of 14 feet and a maximum payload of 5,802 pounds. The top speed is 62 miles per hour, which is slower than any of the box trucks I've driven. It is clearly not intended for interstate use.
And then at your ready, if you're comfortable, foot on the brake pedal. And similar to the van that we were just in, there's no park in the transmission, so simply slide to the left detent and then release the park brake. Not sure who drove it last, sorry.
It's all right.
And then we'll make our way out onto the same course. So gross vehicle weight for this vehicle is right about 14,000 pounds. 10,001 pounds is the cutoff for a Class 3 vehicle. So this vehicle does not require a commercial driver's license to drive.
Sure. That regen kicking in?
A little bit.
It does
there
take
you
a second for me to get around, but it's doable.
And then we've got our parallel parking spot. There we go. Perfect. And then we've got our alley dock over there. When you're ready, just keep an eye for the white car coming for your left. Yep, you're good. have the luxury of having nothing on the back,
Attached,
so we can
yeah,
look
I don't
at
have to worry about any kind
exactly.
of... That's a little bit more challenging to see, so I might use my mirror old-fashioned way.
There you go.
Is there a way to adjust the brightness on that? Do you know? Because that just seems a little dark to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Plus the glare a little bit, but that's fine. I can at least see their bright orange. So.
Yeah.
Once you get a little closer. Cool.
So at your ready.
Much easier than I expected to.
Oh, good. We'll enter the turn circle, and I would recommend going just a little deeper before making the sharp turn. And then all the way to the lock. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a pretty fun vehicle. There you go. And we'll make our way out. Perfect.
Yes. No casualties as far as cones go.
Perfect. Nicely done.
No points for me. Yeah, I love how the visibility with these giant windows.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah, this one definitely feels like production in comparison to the
Yes. Yeah.
last model. Finally, I got a lap on the M1 track in Mullen's flagship sports car, the GT. It's a prototype now, but Mullen is expected to go into production within a couple of years for a price tag of $149,000. As far as specs go, the dual motor powertrain will output up to 280 kilowatts or 375 horsepower and 427 pound-feet of torque with a modest range target of 236 miles. The top speed is expected to hit 125 miles per hour and 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.2 seconds. They plan to offer an RS version that can go 0 to 60 miles per hour in 1.95 seconds. The Mullen GT will have a front and rear double wishbone suspension and chassis calibrated by Myra, 4-piston Brembo brakes, and Pirelli P0 tires, along with a ton of carbon fiber body panels.
Here we go.
We hit very close to the top speed of this vehicle on track. My driver made it a fun and safe experience, and I could tell he was braking early to maintain good traction around the tight corners. That was fun! Thank you, that was great.
Yeah, this is a fun track. It was weird because we had a little bit of a crosswind. So I don't know if you saw the wheel go to the right a little bit, keeping it straight, and it's like, why is it doing this? But I could feel the wind starting to buff it.
No, that was fun. Thank you.
The braking zone was slippery for some reason. I'm not really sure why that is, but it was.
You executed perfectly.
Well, believe it or not, I actually leave room so I have an escape route in case, you know, say something happens or whatever. And I had to use a little bit of it. But that's what makes it fun, right?
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think if they want to sell this vehicle for the proposed price, they need to greatly improve performance considering the competition. If they produce low volume, the exclusivity could be attractive to some buyers, but the bar is very high for performance EVs over $100,000.
All right, well, now I'm here with the VP of Marketing. Jason, thank you for joining us. I'm excited to talk to you about this experience that I had here, but also the product, because there's a lot on offering here, and I experienced the Mullen 5 on the track, the GT, and both of the commercial vehicles. As far as I understand, one of them is a production model and the others are pre-production models. So fit and finish and things like that, there's still some tuning to do as far as production goes. But can you give us a sense of what's next for Mullen? Because you guys got a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you guys for coming out. It's great to be here in Detroit. We've had a great event the last 2 days. And the Mullen 5 is what a lot of people know us for. So consumers out there, which we do have a large following, is really based around the Mullen 5 and that vehicle. So the vehicles we have here for the Mullen 5 are 2 demonstrator vehicles. So really looking at the powertrain, the suspension, the drivability of the vehicles, the cornering. Really give people a good sense of the vehicle, but those, as you said, are not production intent or production models. In terms of looking at kind of where we are right now, we do have the Mullen 3, which is our Class 3 cab chassis EV truck that's available. That just received EPA certification roughly a week ago. Prior to that, we had IRS approval for $7,500 consumer tax credit. Prior to that, we started production. We had the first vehicles rolling off the line. So if you look at kind of where we are right now in the product set, the first vehicles that are coming off the line now and going out to customers is the Mullen 3. And that's always been the intention for the company, is come to market with the commercial fleet vehicles first. That gets us to a path of revenue and profitability that then, you've got a longer lead time on the consumer vehicles. So that path is unique to us. I don't really see anybody else in the EV segment doing that right now, that commercial first with consumer after that. So going back to what you had said earlier as well, so you have Class 3 right now. You have Class 1 that is starting production as well. Those vehicles you'll start seeing those towards the end of the year. So in production with both Class 3 and Class 1 now. That's based in Tunica, Mississippi, which is our home to commercial vehicle manufacturing. Into Q1, Q2 of next year, you'll see Bollinger Motors with their B4. And then late 25, early 26, you'll see the Mullen 5 RS. That's our high performance variant of the Mullen 5. So that's a vehicle that you're looking at over 1,000 horsepower, 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds, 200 miles an hour. So that, with all intentions, is going to be one of the fastest vehicles in the world, and that's one of the vehicles that you'll see come to market first.
And usually that strategy goes along with the play of what you're talking about as far as launching the fleet first so that commercial can help pay for getting production into these consumer vehicles. Exactly. And then having a higher end variant of the Mullen 5 to also capture some more of that profit margin and then trickle down to those more entry-level prices, yeah. Right?
Yeah, and the Mullen 5 RS is really a marquee pinnacle vehicle for us. So from a marketing and awareness point of view, we have that DNA of the Mullen 5 and a very high performance vehicle that really gives us the opportunity from a marquee scenario to put that foot forward first and generate that awareness throughout the market.
So as far as production volume goes, not only on the commercial side, but also on the consumer side, what do you guys expect to produce?
Looking at the commercial assembly plant in Tunica, Mississippi, for Class 3, you're looking at 3,000 vehicles, which is a very conservative estimate for us, but 3,000 vehicles on an initial shift, with us having the capacity to add in a second shift, which is going to bring in 6,000 vehicles total for Class 3. Class 3, Class 1 are out of Tunica, Mississippi, with Class 1 coming in behind that. And we do have the capacity to add both first and second shifts for both Class 3 and Class 1. So total capacity, you're looking at between both of those, probably around 12,000 vehicles, 10,000 vehicles, give or take. I'm sure we've quoted it somewhere before, but I know 6,000 for Class 1 or Class 3 with 2 shifts. So there's quite a bit of room that we have in Tunica. Tunica is a unique facility. It's 130,000 square feet. It's really intended to be an assembly plant. It sits on 100 acres. So we have a lot of room to grow at that facility.
Sure. On the consumer side of things, what do you expect once you start, getting Mullen 5, and is there a trajectory for the GT?
Consumer vehicle manufacturing is Mishawaka, Indiana. So last year we announced through our acquisition through Electric Last Mile, one of the major components of that acquisition was the facility in Mishawaka, Indiana. So that facility was originally built for Hummer. It handled the consumer Hummer vehicle production, 650, 700,000 square feet. You'll see the Mullen 5 production out of Mishawaka. You'll see the Mullen GT, the Mullen 5 RS as well will all be based out of Mishawaka. It's also the plant that we're looking at for Bollinger vehicle production as well, with the B1 and B2, which we haven't announced exactly when that production will start for Bollinger, but that is something that's also earmarked for that facility.
Very cool. Now, as far as progressing, we've seen pre-production models here. Is there like a supply chain that you've built in? Clearly the one that's in production there, that is pretty much set for a little bit, but as far as the other vehicles, are you still working on building out that supply chain in order to, you know, get those a little bit closer to production?
Yeah, absolutely. There was one significant change we did with the Mullen 5 program this year, and that's where we decided to move from a 400-volt architecture to an 800-volt architecture. So we kind of looked at where the market was going, and you know, you do have a few manufacturers now that are doing 800-volt, and that really is the future for, you know, the powertrains of the vehicles. So we have made that adjustment. So we're moving the Mullen 5, the Mullen 5 RS, the Mullen GT will all be based off of 800-volt architecture. We have been in engineering, vehicle engineering with the Mullen 5 for well over a year and a half now. That program is coming up on program freeze. So once we have the program freeze on the vehicle, then that's where the supplier base will then be, we'll go out and we'll select those suppliers. Some of those have already been established, but the bulk of them will be done once we complete the engineering freeze on the vehicle.
Now, to your point of moving to an 800-volt architecture system, has Mullen decided to go in the route of the North American charging standard for the charging that Tesla provides that port? Because we are seeing a lot more automakers go in that direction, or are you going to stick with the CCS standard? It's
a great question, and it's a top-of-mind topic now that we've obviously seen a lot of announcements around. Everybody moving to the Tesla charging system. I think our plan right now will probably be to move in that direction. We haven't announced anything yet, and the main reason for that is, from my understanding, Teslas do not do 800-volt architecture right now. So if you look at some of the manufacturers that have not gone to that Tesla standard,
they're having some issues with the...
Most of them are on 800-volt architecture. So I believe in market right now you have Porsche, which is on 800-volt. You have, I believe, some Kias that are on 800 volts as well. And I think that's right now a roadblock in terms of being able to say, yeah, we're going to adjust to that standard. I think from, you know, if you look at it from a business point of view, we're going to adjust to whatever makes the most sense in the market for the consumers. And, you know, I've driven a Tesla, I drive a Tesla on a daily basis. I understand the benefit of that vehicle, and it really is the infrastructure in the charging.
Yeah, the experience.
So if that's going to be the standard that makes the most sense, then that's a decision that we'll make as well.
Yes, we've heard that Cybertruck is going to be somewhere between the 800 and 1,000 volts, so we got to imagine that they're going to go in a direction where it makes sense for them to not only install the new stations, but also figure something out with the other vehicles that are having a hard time.
Yeah, with the existing charging network as well.
Well, coming to this, I did not expect to see the scale of this operation that you guys hear, because I've been in the business for a long time. I really just expected to have a couple tents and a guy helping with some cars out here, but it's really impressive to see all of this apparatus that you guys have brought. And this seems to be a tour that is going around the country, but seems like you're growing at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, it's a pivotal year for us, and this is a pivotal opportunity for customers to come out and experience us, and you know, not just interact with our vehicles, but also interact with our team and members from Mullen Automotive to really get a sense of kind of where we are and where we're going. The company's grown quite a bit over the last year. You know, last year we were sitting around 125 people. This year we're at over 400. Wow. So as we do expansion, you know, here in Troy, Michigan, at our manufacturing facilities in Irvine, California, in Brea, California. This tour has been a great success for us. 13, 14 cities on this leg of the tour. We're in Detroit now. We're going to move to Denver after this, and it is a big production. There's a lot involved here. We have, you know, multiple vehicles across different types of products that customers can test drive and get that EV experience. We have a lot of vehicles on display that customers can interact with as well, and we have a lot of people and a lot of team members here to answer questions and interact with, you know, with the public.
Well, it's been a treat to see and experience all the vehicles that I had a chance to ride and drive today. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today and letting us rip these around.
Thank you, Lacey. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, thank you guys for watching this latest video, and until next time, drive fly, ride. Go electric.
Go electric.